So, last night on Tucker, a familiar face popped back up. Dr. Li-Meng, a virologist from China who has defected to the United States and is currently basically she's claiming that the origin of the coronavirus we're dealing with is basically from a Chinese lab and it was developed and released deliberately by the Chinese government. Now, she has a study here. It's a fine study. I'm not a virologist. I'm not a doctor, so this doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I understand her. I read her conclusions. They're pretty much summarized. She basically says the unique features. That there's enough unique features in it where it just doesn't seem like it was. It's less likely that it occurred naturally, and it was either spliced in a lab or bred in a lab or whatever it was. Yeah, genome, restriction sites, flanking. Okay, it's just all this stuff that's just, I don't quite, I don't do cells. Mitochondria was the powerhouse of the cell. That's all I know. And she is now dealing with the fact that her family has now been arrested in China. Her mother's in jail, and she's kind of old, so she's probably not going to make it. This lady here, she's giving up a lot. Now, there's always a chance that we're being taken for a ride or that she's wrong. But her getting attention has been pretty much only the right-wing outlets are talking about her. I don't know why. Somebody willing to put their ass on the line like that to the point where their family's getting arrested, we should at least be looking at that and turning to it and being like, okay, we have to at least see what this is. Her and her three partners here, they're all doctors, they're all virologists. This isn't coming out of nowhere. And as far as we know, she is the closest person to the Chinese virologist community that was part of the network that Wuhan lab was in, where this thing originated. She's one of the only people talking. Other people who start to talk either disappeared, died, just aren't talking because they don't want to be disappeared or died. She actually went out of the way to flee the country so she could come here and tell us what she's telling us. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't judge it. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have, lots of peer reviewing and other people looking at it and whatnot. But the dismissal that the media seems to have for this woman is kind of disturbing. And one of the reasons they're citing as a reason for them dismissing this is because the Rule Law Society and the Rule Law Foundation, they basically were the ones who were helping publish this, and they're basically funding her so she can publish this study. She had done the research already, she's basically reproving things that she knew while she was in Hong Kong, which is the thing that basically made her speak out, and then they tried to silence her, and then she had to flee. So she's had to recover and basically recreate a lot of data. She's got a part 2 apparently coming, where she's going to be throwing down even more evidence. That's exciting. I hope that, I hope we know and find out more. Again, I don't know how much I'm going to get out of the first part of the study where it's all this, data and, figures, protein. Yeah, I would be pretending if I said I fully understood what was going on. But this is important. She is an important person, and she's putting herself, and she's actually made serious sacrifices to even put this information out. That doesn't necessarily mean it's guaranteed to be credible, but it does add credibility to her claims. It's like when someone says they come out and they say, "Oh, the government, the U.S. government is doing something," and then they just go around and make a career out of saying that. And it's like, well, if it was really that bad, wouldn't you just be, dead? And then you see somebody else, who may or may not have linked some emails from a certain server, and that guy ends up shot. And then you go, oh, okay, maybe there is something else going on here. It does lend credibility. It doesn't mean it always works out. Sometimes things are coincidental. Sometimes people just want to make a name for themselves, but this girl's not. She went on Tucker Carlson and that's the most exposure she's had is basically 2 interviews with Tucker Carlson. Otherwise, she talked to Breitbart. She was on Bannon's podcast. Obviously, he, since he's funding one of the institutions, he would probably want to talk to her because, He's very anti-China. But he himself said, basically, I don't understand the data you're presenting, so I'll turn the gain down a little bit. There we go. Now it's not going to redline as much. He's saying basically he doesn't understand the data, but we all know it came from this lab. He strongly believes it came from the lab. He strongly believes the Chinese exploited this situation, which I don't think there's really any question about those things. But he doesn't know, was it deliberately created by them to be released as a weapon? Was it released intentionally? He doesn't know. But he doesn't want to rule it out. Now, what has happened, rather than everybody essentially looking at this study and asking questions and interviewing her and putting, people up to actually explain what's going on, this is what's happening. Steve Bannon has behind bogus study that China created COVID. Now, this article, it takes potshots at Steve Bannon. It does point out the true fact that, the place publishing it is partially funded by Bannon. He was a part of the place publishing its creation. She's appeared on his podcast to talk about it, because this is the kind of stuff Bannon talks about. True. But saying the study is bogus is stupid, and that's actually not what anybody even says here. They interview Oops. I mean, this guy. Remember, this scientist. Her Twitter account was taken down, basically because it made China look bad. This lady's being censored, and these guys are now basically smearing her, because they're saying that, because Steve Bannon helped pay to present the message, then therefore it's automatically completely discredited. That's not true. And saying he's behind it is really dumb. He basically is behind the he funded essentially the publishing of it, but he did not create this study. He had no influence on the study whatsoever. This is 100% Dr. Li-Meng's and those other people in the beginning. So that's BS. And as for it being a bogus study, let me find her here. So they interview this Dr. Rasmussen. Basically, it is circumstantial, and some of it is entirely fictional. So she says that, but it's just her. She's the only one saying this. And, she is a virologist from the Columbia University. Okay, it seems like a qualified person to at least bring up to explain the study. She doesn't say much. She just talks about because it was used in SARS, it's in SARS, which is a SARS-like bat coronavirus. Some of these features she's saying are rare, not actually rare. The furin cleavage sites and all this other stuff. Is that true? Is that accurate? Is that an accurate representation of what Dr. Li-Meng was presenting? I don't know. I read the study and I just kind of gave up about halfway through, and I just read the conclusion because I don't understand the science of what's going on. And I'm not saying what this lady's saying is untrue or invalid, but this is you found one person who does not have nearly as much experience with essentially these viruses as she is a virologist, but she doesn't have nearly as much direct hands-on experience with the Chinese, basically the Chinese virology. And you're saying that, and she disagrees. She's saying, it's not, it's not more likely that it's more likely that it's natural. She's been saying this for a while, actually, this lady. That doesn't mean the study's bogus. That means you have an interview with Dr. Angela Rasmussen that where she refutes the study. It's not a Steve Bannon behind a bogus study. It's a real study. It's a real thing by a real qualified person who's taking real risk. And what they want to do is that, this article itself is not particularly well written, and it doesn't destroy the narrative. But this is what they want. They want this headline. So then when somebody says, "Oh yeah, that lady who was on Tucker said, oh, that was a bogus study." Oh, really? It was? Can you explain why it's a bogus study? Well, Steve Bannon funded it. Well, no, he didn't fund the study. He funded the publishing of it. He helped publish it with the whatever foundation. Yeah, no, it's not real. It's been debunked. Really? You talked to one person, and there are. This is the Daily Beast, granted, which is left wing and just ridiculous. But there are, if you look up for articles, basically you've got two different articles. You've got articles saying this lady was on Tucker Carlson, and then you have articles saying this study is bogus because Steve Bannon, rah rah rah, right? And they're all about as useful as this information, which is just, we interviewed one person with a different agenda who said that it's not the case. Therefore, we declare at the top, it's bogus. So it's not journalism. It's propaganda. And they should be super cautious with this because this lady's family has been arrested in China, and it makes them, and basically by doing this, they're essentially saying, yeah, Chinese government, they were, nothing to see here. That should be the outrage that this lady published this, whether it's, good science or not, that the fact her family was outraged, that you think would be more important, but that's not what they're doing. They're just, ooh, evil Steve Bannon. That's, let me look at this picture. It's ridiculous, right? It's silly. What was it? Pro-China conspiracy campaigns attack COVID drug makers. Fall of Steve Bannon. Yeah, they're just, this is just, this says nothing. This says that, basically it connects Steve Bannon to the publisher, but it doesn't connect him to the study. It just, they say he's connected to the publisher, but it's not like he had editorial control or demanded it or paid for it. I mean, he didn't pay for this lady to leave China. She just was looking for a place to, spread her data, spread her message, and they thought that was important. I mean, the fact that they're not profiting from it, that's also another good sign. There's more to this than just, Bannon's there, check your brain out. Carlson's become one of Fox's. Yeah, see, it's really silly. So I did a little digging, and I looked up this Dr. Angela Rasmussen, Columbia University, and it turns out she's been getting interviewed since January, which I don't know how long she's had her degree. I guess I could look that up. Let's see. No, come on. Let's just go back to, I think one of the other pages had it, right? 09, 12. Okay, let's see what their virology is. Biological sciences, master's microbiology, PhD microbiology. Okay, so these are the relevant ones. 2012. So she's been, 8 years she's been in this. Not as long as Li-Meng, believe it or not. But that's fine. But I go through the press appearances, and I even read through some of them. You've got New York Magazine, National Geographic, Rolling Stone, BuzzFeed, Salon, Daily Beast, Guardian, Vox, New York Times, Vox again, New York Times, Verge, Washington Post, Huffington Post, Vox, Washington Post, The Atlantic, Newsweek, NPR, ABC Australia, I guess. I don't know. The Atlantic, Vox. You guys getting a pattern here? It's PolitiFact, more Vox. I mean, if you keep crapping on the, if you counter the right-wing narrative, Yahoo Life, you're going to keep getting callbacks from these type of places. This is not somebody who is being interviewed by both groups here. This is exclusively a left-wing source because she says things they like. That doesn't mean she's wrong, but let's take a look here. Let's be honest about this. Slate. I mean, come on, right? If Rolling Stone called me, I would just hang up the phone because let's see what there's. Coronavirus solutions and expert explains why you shouldn't panic. Oh no, March 2nd was she not saying? Was she downplaying the virus? Oh my God. And it's funny, it's because in all these early ones that I was going through, she's saying like, look, it's closer to a flu than like some kind of thermonuclear event. Because someone had called it a thermonuclear virus and was like, that's crazy. She was saying it's like a flu. Flu kills 30,000 people a year. This might be worse than that, but we don't shut everything down for the flu. She's making that argument the whole time during the first half, and then the second the lockdowns were about to be over, now it's, oh my God, where's the one, the vice president being irresponsible and all this other stuff. A bogus Steve Bannon study. What a chance that Trump gave Biden COVID-19. Like, come on. Like, This is the level of insanity. So, okay, fine, whatever. She has an angle. But what does she gain from covering for the Chinese? Well, I saw a very interesting quote early on. This is from, let's see, let me get this right before I... scientific novel coronavirus developed naturally, not in a lab, right? 538. This was May 4th, right? And this is back when basically the lab stuff was starting to come out and people were in denial of it. And this is what she says. We live in a global world. It would hurt us tremendously if we were to stop collaborating with Chinese scientists. Okay. In other words, the truth doesn't matter. It just would hurt us tremendously to blame the Chinese, because then we can't collaborate with Chinese scientists. Why is she so concerned about collaborating with Chinese scientists, I wonder? And then I, of course, did some digging, which, again, this stuff's online. Double check it. Go ahead. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's the foreign gifts from lots of countries to different universities. Oh, Columbia University, New York City. Oh, almost $20 million to Columbia University in 2019. Huh. Interesting. How about Hong Kong? How about the other half of China? Because the Chinese Chinese universities essentially. I mean, Hong Kong's been taken over by the Chinese. Let's see if they're at all involved with. Let's see, Columbia. Oh, there it is, Columbia University in the city of New York. Oh, another 20 million, 21 million actually, a million extra. So we're talking about $40 million worth of money going to her school to collaborate with Chinese scientists, right? This is gifts. This isn't like people paying to go there. This is gifted money to pay her paycheck. This might have been important to disclose in these articles of this person who's saying, "Oh, it's impossible that this is wrong. It wasn't the Chinese who created this or are responsible for this." This is important information. You leave this out, but you don't. You're sure to mention Steve Bannon. You're sure to mention ask weird questions. Like it's just gibberish. Steve Bannon is behind the bogus study that China created COVID. Well, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say I'm going to say China is behind paying Columbia University, whose lead virologist says that Dr. Li-Meng Yang study is bogus. We've got two forces here slamming into each other. Now, I don't know for sure. Does she see the money? I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know where that money goes, but it's $40 million of essentially Chinese money coming into Columbia University so that their lead person can just outright dismiss somebody whose family's been detained by the Chinese Communist Party. And it's probably not going to survive. She risks everything, comes over here, and then our universities getting, this list here is probably one of the more interesting things. I mean, look at this. Look how many colleges China has sent money to. All right? Yale, $21 million. Is that 11? Yeah, 11 million to, where is this? Seattle, University of Washington, 11 million. 64 million to the University of Southern California. University of Pennsylvania, that's down the street for you, 32 million. Huh. What's this one? University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, 23 million. Do we see a pattern here? We starting to see a pattern here? Left-wing universities teaching critical race theory and in complete denial of, basically rising China and MIT got 31 million from the Chinese government. You got to be kidding me, right? This is crazy, right? So, yeah, I know other countries are giving money too, but I don't care if Belgium is funding. Belgium gave Bermuda, Carnegie Mellon University somehow got $750 million from Bermuda, right? Bermuda is not a national security threat. Bermuda is not the ones responsible for this virus. These guys are. Let's see who else is on this list, right? China, Iran, John Hopkins University apparently got $80 from Iran. All right, at least we're not getting stuff from Iran, right? At least Iran doesn't have an influence over our university system. Let's see Russia. Russia. California Institute of Technology. Carnegie Mellon got $2 million from Russia. John Hopkins got $590. Why is everybody giving John Hopkins like $80? Like, what's going on with that? Yale, $200,000. See, now this isn't so bad, right? Stanford got $3 million, but again, it could be a project they're paid for. MIT, our smartest math people, engineering school, $83 million from the Russians, right? Why would the Russian government give $83 million to MIT? Why? Unless it served their political or national security interests. Same thing with China, right? Saudis funding stuff. I don't like that so much, but at least they're not like actively trying to kill us, right? Let's see. Any other fun people on here? Any other countries? Yeah, Taiwan. Tanzania. United Nations. They gave $10 to the Westminster Theological Summit. What? Oh my God. UAE. Okay, in USA we gave $5 million to Columbia University. Our own government gave less money to Columbia University than the Chinese government. So where do you think their loyalty is going to be? Where do you think their loyalty lies? All right? And I'm not saying the U.S. should be giving money to anybody, because I want to know why they even bother giving it money to these two wealthy Ivy League universities. Well, I can't even pay my freaking student loans back. You guys are going to be dishing out millions of dollars to these overpriced universities, right? University of Washington, Seattle. Here's the thing. They may have paid for a service. Maybe that's how it's tied in. But this is supposed to be donations, so I don't even know, right? But it really puts things in perspective. So, whatever. That's my video. That's my part 2 of this. I can't wait till she comes out with the second part of her thing. But if you're wondering why this lady is out here and they're shooting down, they're writing articles like this, yeah, that's why. This right here. This is why. Columbia University, City of New York, 19 million, another 21 million routed through Hong Kong. That's why. So, hey, it's like, what do I say, right? I can't. Look at this. Look how many universities are receiving millions of dollars from the Chinese. Millions. Madison, Wisconsin. What are they paying for? What are they paying for? How does China benefit from funding American universities to the tune of $33 million to University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign? I guess that's Maryland. I think Champaign's in Maryland. I could be wrong. I don't actually know where this place is, but still, what on earth? These higher universities, man, they are not our friends. $79 million for Harvard. Christ. Like Harvard needs the money. You know what this is for? This is to pay for them to take a blind eye to look at when they're stealing tech, to when they're moving their spies in, to basically pay people off to, be super friendly like this lady here. God, that's bad. This is bad. Cornell. I don't know what Fort Hays State is, $4 million, but this is concerning. This should be the story. Arizona State. Oh man, no wonder that they're trying to turn that place blue. $31 million. You got to be kidding me. It's not even the worst, right? So when you see this, just know that you might think Steve Bannon publishing what this lady has to say is a conflict of interest, but the universities that fund and keep these professors on the staff, who are the virologists, And they're probably fine, just fine virologists. They have a vested interest, essentially, in not basically putting this blame on China. Because what do you think happens if Dr. Angela Rasmussen comes out and says, yeah, this study's good, nothing's wrong with that, looks like the Chinese actually are fully responsible? What happens, right? Well, she gets canned from her university, and then suddenly they're $19 million short. Or really, Hong Kong would be short too. So they're $40 million. Her criticizing China could cost the university $40 million. While this lady criticizing, where's she at? Dr. Li-Meng Yang. Oh, duh, it's in here. While these guys criticizing China could cost them both their lives and their families' lives. Who's got the motivation here? Who do you think is telling the truth? Who's actually taking the risk here? All right? So as of right now, I'm going to trust Dr. Li-Meng Yang. I believe her. Whatever she says, I believe her until I see otherwise, because the people who are pushing against it, right there. So that's that's disturbing.